Hey guys, it's John and Shannon from That DIY Couple.
And today we're going to do a quick little video about what is intermittent fasting. So intermittent fasting is a food timing practice that a lot of people are following and enjoying, having great health success from. The basic idea of intermittent fasting is that you should eat the same amount of food that you normally would in a given day, but time your food such that you prolong the fasting window between the last time you eat on day 1 and the first time that you eat on day 2. So this can take different shape or form depending upon how long you'd like to fast. But a popular way of doing it is having your last meal at, say, 4 p.m. or 5 p.m. and waiting until 10 or 11 a.m. the next day, just to have a really long fasting window overnight where your body can start to heal itself.
Yeah, so the way that I do intermittent fasting, well, I guess I should explain, is that I've been doing intermittent fasting for a long time without really ascribing a name to it. So I forever basically have never really eaten breakfast except on maybe rare occasions. For whatever reason, I don't really like breakfast. I'm usually kind of busy in the morning, or I'm waking up a little bit later or something like that. My first meal is usually lunch, and I usually have that around maybe 12:30 or 1 in the day. And my second meal is usually dinner. I have that around maybe 6 or 5 or something like that. So I eat essentially all of the food that I'm going to be eating in a given day between about 12:31 and like 5:30, 6 o'clock. So it's about a 6-hour window of time. And for the rest of the day, I'm generally not really eating anything. I might have fruit or something like that at night. Or if it's a weird day and I have to have like social obligations where I need to eat dinner or need to eat at a certain time, I might not follow that. But so for me, I eat like for a 6-hour window out of the day, and then I don't eat for about 18 hours for the rest of the day.
So I have my first meal at 9 a.m. I have a really large serving of food at that time because I do get hungry in the morning, and so 9 a.m. is pushing it for me. I have to like sort of force myself to wait until that long. So I wait until I get to work, and then I have what I call my brunch, which is a serving that would be both my breakfast and my lunch. And then about several hours later, around 3 or 4 p.m., I have what I call my dinner. And then I'm basically done for the day most days. Now, I don't do this religiously every single day. Definitely if we have friends over or if we meet people like after work, I'm going to eat later. But this is what I do most days, and I feel like this is the best thing for my health. There are 2 reasons why intermittent fasting is good for your health. The first is that our cells are able to heal themselves when your body is in a fasted state through a process called autophagy. Autophagy basically means if you look at the Greek word autophagy, what it means is eating oneself. And so the idea, this was just discovered fairly recently. Someone won a Nobel Prize for this just a couple of years ago. But the idea is that when your body is in a fasted state, so after it's done with the process of digestion, which is a really intense process for the body, your cells will start to eat the bad and broken down parts of themselves, which degrade over time as we age and as we live life and as we process toxins. So your body finishes digesting and your cells are sort of hungry. And what they do is when food is not readily available, they will turn to eating their sort of garbage parts. And this is helpful for things like improving immune function and for fighting off free radicals and for cancer. There's a number of different places like the True North Center where people are doing longer supervised medical fasts and having fantastic results at doing things like improving their immune function for really severe degenerative autoimmune related diseases. But for the average layperson, the idea is it's just kind of a great way for your body to kind of clean house. And personally, when I wake up in the morning, I feel amazing after a long fast.
Yeah, I think that there's one other thing about intermittent fasting that's important beyond the possible health benefits, which is that by controlling when you eat food, you gain a new understanding about your relationship with food that I didn't really know before I started doing this or became aware, more conscious that I was doing it, which is that hunger, as I think you've talked about in other videos, is not a persistent thing. Hunger comes and goes. So if you get hungry, for example, at a certain time in the morning, like say you're really hungry for breakfast and you really, really, really want to eat, if you are able to not eat for a little bit of time, like maybe for 2 hours or 3 hours, though you may still be hungry, the kind of intense hunger that you felt when you really wanted to eat the first time is not there anymore. And as you do intermittent fasting or even longer fasts, you'll discover kind of your body will get hungry at a certain time and then it won't get hungry at a certain time, or it'll get less hungry at a certain time. And it's not, that sense of hunger is not necessarily related to your body's like biological need to eat. It's really a function of the habit that you've gotten into when you're eating before. So like, for example, I used to get hungry a lot at like 9 or 10 p.m. at night for sweets because when I was heavier, I used to go out all the time to eat like ice cream at 9 o'clock or get like a chocolate bar or something like that. And when I stopped doing that, I noticed that my body would just get really hungry at 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock. There's no biological reason why that was happening because I'd eaten all the calories I needed to eat that given day, even maybe more than that. Just regardless of what I ate during the day, I would still get hungry at 9 or 10 o'clock. So fasting and intermittent fasting in particular allowed me to gain an understanding of that and a recognition of that it was just not a need of my body, just a psychological thing almost. And that, for me, allowed me to be in a position of power over food that I hadn't been in before, where I was able to recognize what my hunger was, when I was desiring food, why I was desiring food, things of that nature. So intermittent fasting, even beyond the health benefits, is just a cool way to gain control of your life in a sense over what you eat.
And what's important to remember is that when you have weight to lose and you have excess fat stored in your body, what happens when you're in a fasted state is not starvation. It's what happens is that your body, when it's unable to access the glucose that's running in your bloodstream as a result of you having eaten, what it does is it taps into the fat storage that you have kind of in the pantry that you've stored, and it starts to burn that fat in order to fuel your body. So you're actually getting nutrition from just the storage that you have already, and going through fat and burning state in sort of a ketosis state actually provides you with a large amount of energy. And so one of the questions people usually have is whether or not you feel really tired. And in fact, I would say after you pass through those hunger cravings, which you will have hunger cravings, you realize that hunger passes. It's not a huge emergency when you have fat to lose, and then you start to feel a sort of enormous burst of energy and alertness. And I tend to get a lot more done at work. I feel a lot more invigorated when I don't have a ton in my stomach. And
you can really feel that result if you do actual fasting, like not intermittent fasting, but just not eating for, say, a 24-hour period or a 48-hour period, which is not necessarily what this video is about, but I've done that as well. And
yeah, we've done fasts up to 3 or 4 days, and if you guys are interested in
water
fasts, if you guys are interested in learning more about water fasting for longer periods of time, we're happy to do a video on
just
that.
As a general observation, I don't really recommend doing that as a weight loss technique personally, and I think that there are some concerns about women doing that with fertility issues. But if you really want to have a perspective of gaining control over food and understanding the effects that fasting has on you in terms of energy, in terms of hunger, doing like a 24-hour or 48-hour fast is a really interesting experiment to do on yourself, provided that you're drinking water and you've talked to your doctor about the health risks of doing it. But you'll get a ton of energy. You'll be amazed.
And this might be a good spot to pause and say, if you're somebody who's struggled with anorexia or body dysmorphia or issues with food, this is probably not a great course of action for you. And you should talk to whoever's treating you for those issues.
That's a great point. Yeah, messing around with when you're eating, particularly if you're doing it for weight loss issues.
It might also be an issue if you're somebody who's struggling with binge eating disorder as well, because you might find that you binge a lot after the fast.
Yeah, well, we don't do intermittent fasting for weight loss. Basically at all.
Well, I don't know about that. I would say that intermittent fasting actually does have weight loss benefits, because in order for you to lose weight, what has to happen is that after you eat, your insulin goes up, and it releases insulin into the bloodstream, and it tells the body to store things as fat. After that, insulin needs to come down in order for your body to start using the fat reserves that it has already put into the pantry, as it were. If insulin stays up the entire day because you're eating and you're snacking and you're continuously putting more and more fuel into your body, you're just not going to lose weight because your body's going to constantly be getting that message that it's time to store everything as fat. So Dr. Jason Fung talks about this in the obesity code, which I can summarize and review if you guys are interested. Comment down below if you are. But basically, insulin has to go up and then it needs to come down in order for weight loss to occur. And it needs to stay down for a period of time. So one of the reasons that people in Europe tend to be slimmer than people in the United States is because they tend to have defined and set meal times. Whereas in the United States, the current zeitgeist says you have to snack all the time in order to rev your metabolism, which turns out to be patently false.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. There are certainly benefits to weight loss, but I think for me, at least in my life, the big thing for my weight loss has been the nutritarian diet and bright line eating, less so intermittent fasting, although I think it's a component of that. I think it's in our lives, in our eating, we do all those things together.
Right. So we combine the whole food, plant-based diet that's advocated in Dr. Joel Fuhrman's book, Eat to Live, which is the nutritarian diet. And we eliminated sugar and flour and snacking and eat in prescribed quantities, which is the diet that's recommended by Dr. Susan Pierce Thompson in her book, Bright Line Eating, with these principles of intermittent fasting to really find what is the sweet spot for us in terms of weight loss. And that's really helped us with our sort of extreme weight loss.
Cool, guys. Well, just a quick video about intermittent fasting and how we adopt it in your life. We'd love to hear your experiences.
And what questions do you have for us? What else do you want to know about intermittent fasting and our eating and lifestyle? Comment down below. Thanks so much for watching, you guys.
Thanks, guys. See you next time.